So I'd love it if you could go back and walk us through kind of your story leading up to before you became CEO at Thomas Nelson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've worked in the book publishing industry my entire career. Started when I was in college, kept going after that, worked in every aspect of book publishing. Came back to Thomas Nelson in 1998. Eventually worked my way into senior management and eventually became the CEO of the company.
I think a lot of people who are hustling towards success want to become a C-level executive. What do you think were some of the keys of success that got you to CEO?
Yeah, I think one thing happened in particular when I came back to Thomas Nelson. They gave me charge of one division out of 14 that was dead last in every metric. So it had the lowest return on assets, the lowest growth rate. I mean, everything was screwed up. And so that was a great position to be in because all I had to do is put a little intention into it, a little focus, rally the team. And in 18 months, we went from number 14 to number 1. So that got the attention of the senior management of the company at the time. And so they gave me more stuff to manage. I think if there was one key that I had, I've just been super responsive. So whether I get an email or a phone call, I get right back to people. And in this world where so many people take forever, their inboxes are overrun, you can really stand out by being responsive. And people think that you're competent because you're responsive. Not always the case. But people assume that.
So if you were to sit down with someone at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey, and besides telling them to start, because I've heard you say that a lot, like just get started.
Yep.
So besides that, what's the number one piece of advice you'd give them?
Get comfortable with fear.
That's good.
Yeah, so whenever you're starting to feel fear, uncertainty, and doubt, reframe that as positive indicators that you're moving outside of your comfort zone. And as an entrepreneur, it's essential. Because if you stay where you're comfortable, you'll never grow.
Right.
Right? So when I get up to do a keynote speech, I'm always afraid. If you came up and shook hands with me before I get a keynote speech, my hands are cold, they're sweaty.
Right.
But I've even reframed that. I just tell myself, this is the way my body prepares for peak performance.
You're the man. That's cool.
So,
just preparing.
Yeah, I'm just preparing for peak performance.
That's
all. This is good. One of my coaches right now is Dan Sullivan. And one of the things Dan talks about is entrepreneurs takes a lot of courage to be successful. But then once they get successful, they spend all their time thinking about how they can create a company that doesn't require any risk. And once that happens, that's the death of the company.
Yep. Yeah.
So you've got to continue to push yourself and put yourself in situations that are not, irresponsibly risky. But that's the essence of being an entrepreneur. It's never certain. You're moving in the realm of uncertainty, and that's good. That's where you ought to be if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Here are my key takeaways on success from my interview with Michael Hyatt. First, use what you have where you are. This was his answer to the multiple questions about building his blog as a CEO and if that was an advantage for him. And he went on to say that you have to use whatever advantage you have, and it's easy to say, oh, well, so-and-so made it because he was CEO or because they're good looking or because. You have to use what you have where you are. And I loved the specific quote he gave. He said, perform in the assignment you've been given. I love that. Number 2, be responsive. I found this really refreshing in today's era where it can be weeks before you hear back from someone because they have so many emails and so many social media things to respond to. And he said what got him to CEO was probably how responsive he was. So be responsive in your current job or with your clients or with your followers. Number 3, commit and follow through. When I asked him, the virtual mentor, what he looks for in mentees, he said that he looks for someone who takes responsibility and then takes action. He gave the example that his mentees in his Inner Circle program use the breaks during their sessions to execute what they just talked about. So commit and follow through. Number 4, get comfortable with fear. I love how he talks about reframing fear so that you know that this is just your natural response to going outside of your comfort zone, which is essential for success. And lastly, get comfortable with discipline. Now, he didn't actually mention this as a key trait to success in his interview, but if you look at his life and when he talks about how he built his blog and even his habits, running, all things that take patience and discipline. So get comfortable with discipline on your quest to take your life and your goal and your business to the next level. I hope this encouraged and inspired and motivated you today. For more articles and videos, go to success.com. And to see my full interview with Michael Hyatt, go to thepursuit.tv.